Hi, I'm Nancy Eigel-Miller, and I'm the Executive Director of 1 in 5, and I'm here today with Stacey Hoffmann, who is the Program Manager of the Adapt for Life program from Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And we're going to be talking about active listening today. So Stacey, can you tell me what active listening is?
Active listening is really a way of listening that's very open-minded and requires the listener to really be focused on everything that the speaker is saying. So really looking for more of the content rather than just individual words, and not being distracted by other things, but really being an active part of listening and helping to guide the conversation through listening.
So what are some of the barriers to active listening? I know in our world today, we constantly are trying to outthink the other person.
Yes, and unfortunately, a lot of people think that the most important part about talking is talking, and it really is. There's no use in talking if no one's listening. And certainly some of the barriers are if people don't have interest, if people have a lack of understanding, if there are physical interruptions, like if someone is hungry or tired or cold, or even emotional distractions, like if someone's feeling unsafe or feeling overwhelmed, then those things are certainly going to get in the way of someone's ability to actively listen.
So what are the skills that are involved in active listening, and how do we develop those?
The skills in active listening are relatively simple, but hard to do, I guess it's fair to say. The first thing is to pay attention, and I mean really paying attention. So again, not just looking at words, but really trying to understand the concept that the person is trying to explain. And it really with minimal interaction. So some things that can help with active listening are nods, okays, or yeses, or even that makes sense, or uh-huh. Again, just to sort of let the listener know, the speaker know that we're keeping up with them, and to give them a little bit of that feedback that they can go ahead and move forward. It's also really important that we withhold judgment. A very important part about being an active listener is being open. So really being present in the moment and not jumping ahead with our thoughts or feelings, but really trying to stay with the speaker to better understand what they're trying to express. Certainly reflecting can be very helpful. Reflection can be something that relates to a literal occurrence, like I understand that you just got into a fight, or it can be something that's more emotional in content, like you seem like you're feeling upset, or I understand that you're feeling overwhelmed. So those kind of reflections can help give the speaker some feedback and be able to move on as well. Another important thing is to clarify. Certainly speakers are going to say things that may not make sense to us, or that we may want to have further understanding. And so it does make sense to say things like, just to make sure I'm clear, or I don't think I followed you, or are you talking about such and such, just to make sure that that person knows that we're staying with them. Another skill that can be helpful is summarizing, being able to restate back to someone what you hear them say. If someone has a longer description of an experience, certainly sometimes it can be helpful to summarize those in a briefer way and sort of explain the emotional context that the person is referring to. As we said, we've got paying attention, withholding judgment, reflecting, clarifying, and summarizing. And the last thing is to share. One of the important things is that we have to remember that we want to understand the speaker first, and then share our opinion or our experience with that. And we don't need to do that all the time. Only if the situation really calls for that, or there's an active exchange that's going on with information. But certainly waiting for the other person to finish and then offering any feedback or even an additional clarifying question to take it one step farther can be really important. And while it's hard to think of all these skills in a list, we know that communication is key in building relationships. And certainly when we're talking about relationships with parents and children, as well as partners and friends, being able to be an active listener is a critical part in helping that healthy communication develop those relationships.
Okay, so when we're talking about a mental health situation, I know we talk a lot about being an active listener, because it's so helpful to the other person who is experiencing something and really wants to just be able to share what they're feeling and not hear everybody else's opinion about what they should do about it. So can you talk to that a little bit?
Absolutely. I do primarily work with students. They have the perspective that the adults in their lives are busy doing other things. And we all know how it is to be busy. But the ability to stop what we're doing and really focus on what someone is trying to tell us, especially like a student in the example that I'm giving you, can be so empowering and so validating. A lot of people feel like they don't have the right words to say and how to respond to a situation if someone is experiencing. But just to be able to say, I'm so glad that you told me, and I'm just glad to be here with you. I mean, so often people are feeling isolated,
Right.
And to have a conversation where we can connect and have that sense of the camaraderie and support and knowing that we're not alone,
Right.
can be really helpful.
So you covered some of the benefits, but are there other benefits that people would have from active listening?
I think that as an active listener, you're also able to really expand your experiences beyond what your own experiences are. Having that ability to be empathetic, right, to listen, to imagine ourselves in those situations, I think really challenges us to be more empathetic.
Right.
And to maybe even have some better ideas, maybe reframe some of the ways that we've been looking at things for a long time. We get stuck in our own thoughts and our own way of looking at things. When we're able to listen, we can learn so much from other people.
Right. That empathy piece that's so important, especially if you're listening to a child who is experiencing a mental health challenge and they feel like they're all alone and nobody understands.
And I think one of the hard things for parents in particular is that it's hard to hear their children say difficult things, right? To hear painful things, to really just allow that communication to happen and know that the fact that they're saying it is a very positive thing. So the moment might be difficult, and again, that might be one of those circumstances where a parent might say, I really don't know what to say, but I'm just so happy that you told me, and I want to be in this with you. So please continue to share with me. It can just be such a powerful connection.
And I think that's something that we've heard a lot from the kids, is that it's when they're talking to their parents, they don't feel heard. So when the parent is actually able to actually listen and give some support, the child feels so much empowered.
Absolutely. And that's where those skills of active listening, giving that feedback, right? I'm listening, I'm leaning forward, my eyes are looking at you, I'm not doing other things.
Right.
It makes the kids feel like everything that they're saying and everything that they are is important and valid.
Well, thank you for being with me today, Stacey, and for educating us about active listening. I think it's a skill that most parents would really be so helpful to their children and, as you said, other relationships in their life if they practice those skills.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.